remembering star magic, because after getting to understand this kind of technology, this healing frequency, I realized that it's in all of us. And so when we're training people, we're not really teaching them anything, we're just helping them remember what's already inside of them. And I think that's really important, because we get a lot of people that look at what I do and what our team does, and they think, oh, they must be special, or they must have something different about them, or they must be, unique in this way. But actually, we've trained people from all walks of life, from 8 years old to 98 years old, men, women, doctors, stay-at-home mums, firemen, you name it, accountants, people from all walks of life, and everybody can do this. And there is a process and a way to helping everybody really remember this stuff. And I mean, for myself, I used to have a very different life. Now we travel the world, sharing star magic with everyone. We're building healing centers where we're kind of on this frequency of love and helping people step into their power. But my life used to be very different. I used to work for a high profile criminal organization, smuggling drugs and other commodities. And I did this from a young age. And in 2004, 2005, my whole life started to shift. It started with a car crash. I was in Romania with my ex-wife and children traveling to the airport, and I was asleep in a taxi, and the taxi ran 3 ladies over. I didn't know because I was asleep. I just woke up. There was a loud crash. There's a bang. The car's swaying from side to side. And I just remember thinking to myself, boy, we're in a bad accident. We're either going to hit the oncoming traffic or the car will flip. And neither of that happened. And we stopped, and I looked around and there's no cars. And I'm thinking, this is really strange. And then I got out of the car, looked about 30 meters up the road, and there was what looked like there was 2 ladies about 30 meters up the road, but about another 100 meters up the road, there was what looked like a dead body. And obviously these 3 ladies had crossed the road in the morning. The first one, she got hit clean on. She came through the windscreen, hit me in the face whilst I was asleep. The third one got flipped over the car. She died. And the other one had her ankles cut off. And so, yeah, it was a pretty nasty sight, but it was really strange, because I walked up the road. I saw the lady with her ankles off, the other lady screaming. I see this kind of like lump on the road further up, and I'm just fixated on it. And I just walked towards it. I got within about maybe 10 meters, and I see this energy source hovering above the body. And up until this point in my life, I didn't believe in anything to do with spirit, the universe, nothing religious. I thought it was all a load of crap for crazy people. And there's me stood on the road looking at this energy, shaking my head, trying to get it out of my head, but it wouldn't go. And like I now realize it was the lady's soul. And I get closer and closer to the body, and this energy kind of fizzles off into the ether. And by this time, I'm looking down at the lady's body. Her legs are wrapped up over her head. She's smashed to pieces. And I remember looking up to the heavens and just saying, thank you. And it was like someone had taken an old car to the scrap heap. Like whatever was inside the body, it had no use for the body anymore. So it had just gone. And this lump of nothing was left on the floor, which was kind of useless. And I saw this kind of separation and connection between life and death. There's something in the body that kind of runs it or controls it, or is, the body is the host of it. And from this point on, everything started to change in my life. My ex-wife had a headache one day, and I thought to myself, I can take that out of your head. I don't know why I thought it, but I did. And I went over to her on the bed, and I saw her, and her headache was the headache was green. This like green energy was in her head, and I reached in, grabbed it, and pulled it out. And she got up off the bed like she didn't have a headache in the first place. And I thought that was a little bit weird, but I just, took it in my stride and carried on. And then things just kept happening and happening. We ended up moving to New Zealand, and then I learned to meditate. I met an old guy. He taught me how to meditate. He had a pyramid in his garden, and I used to go around there and meditate every day. And he taught me to meditate with my eyes open. And I had some crazy experiences in this pyramid, but one of them was really important and really profound. And one day I was meditating, and this little space pod landed in the garden. That's the only way I can describe it. and there was a blue being inside of it. So I brought my light out of my body, which I'd been trained to do, because around the time of the car crash, I met my first spiritual teacher, and she worked for Scotland Yard in the psychic division, solving crimes. So I used to go and see her all the time, and she taught me how to remote view, how to communicate with the spirit world, bring my light out of my body and travel, all these cool things. And so when the space pod landed in the garden, I brought my light out of my body, went and jumped inside, and this being flew me through a portal for about 4 or 5 seconds. We came out the other side and we were above water. I got out of the space pod, walked through the water and up the beach, and there were about 200 of these blue beings that were about 6.5 to 7 feet tall. And I knew they were from Lyra, and I knew that I was on Alpha Centauri. I've never heard of Lyrans, never heard of Alpha Centauri, but somehow this information was coming to me. So these beings gave me a hug. And when they hugged me, it felt like coming home. Like I felt like this level of love that I've never experienced in my life. And I didn't want it to end. Like I just wanted it to last forever. But they finished hugging me. And one of them led me up the beach and through these trees, a bit like jungle, into this building that was made of light. And when I went in there, there was this really old, ancient blue Lyran being that asked me to kneel on the floor. And then I had this big download of geometry in this orange frequency. Then once it had finished, they picked me up, frog marched me back to this space pod and stuck me inside, flew me back through the tunnel, back into the garden and back into my meditation. And then nothing else really happened in my life for a couple of years. And then I woke up one day and I said to my ex-missus and children, we've got to go back to England. And they looked at me like I was nuts because we just moved out to New Zealand. You know, we'd been there, we'd set up a health and fitness business. The business was going really well. And there's me saying that I want to kind of jack it all in and go back to England. So it took me a little while to persuade them. But when we did go back to England, everything went into overdrive. So the first thing, I was out running one morning and I saw fairies flying around a tree. And I stop and I'm looking at these fairies thinking, what the heck next? You know, these extraterrestrials, now it's fairies. And then an angel comes down and the angel looks at me and says, you need to write a book called Into the Light about your life story. So I ran home, I wrote the book. And around this time, I also got arrested at the passport office for holding a false travel document back in 2007, and also conspiracy to defraud the Royal Bank of Scotland. So I was up on charges and looking at a long prison sentence, and I was on bail for a couple of years. But all the time, all of this spiritual stuff is happening to me. So I write this book called Into the Light. And then I start seeing all this geometry and code, and I'm saying to my guides, what am I supposed to do with this stuff? And they said, you need to meditate more. So I started getting up every morning really early with my son, Josh, and we were going to these ancient mystery schools in meditation. And there was a guy there with these scrolls, and he was opening these scrolls, and on the scrolls, there was code. And it was the same code that got downloaded in the orange light on Alpha Centauri, and the same code that I was seeing after writing the book Into the Light. So I went every day with my son for 2 hours, and we went for 9 months, and they were showing us how to heal with this code. And after the 9 months, people started coming into my life that needed healing, and I was trying it all out, and it was working. And at the same time, I had to go for my court case, and I was looking at a long prison sentence. So I was kind of like and ahhing, like part of me really wanted to do this healing and part of me didn't. But with the court case, I made a pact with the universe. And I said, listen, if you get me off this court case, then I promise you I'm going to give this healing everything. You know, I commit to it for forever. And so I went to court. I'm stood in the dock. And the judge walked in with his 2 accomplices. And the woman to his right, my left, had wings on her back. And she looked at me and winked. And I was like, this is crazy. Like my whole skin started vibrating. That chicken skin, I went cold. And part of me thought, you're going to get off this, Jerry. But there was still my logical part that thought, nah, this can't be. Anyway, the prosecution gave their side of the story. My solicitor gave our side of the story. They went out and deliberated and came back in 30 minutes later. And the judge said, "We can see you're a changed man, Mr. Sargeant. We're going to give you a 1 year conditional discharge and £80 court fee. You're free to go." And at that point, I was like, right, that's it. I have to do star magic. So I set the business up about, I think it was about a year later from then, which was early 2016. Been going for about 7 years now. And the same blue being that took me up in the spacecraft came and told me to write a book. They showed me these healing centers that we were going to build and that I needed to train people to work in them. So we started doing training programs. And, the rest is history, really. We've traveled all over the world. We've trained thousands of people in more than 55 countries now, from China to America, everywhere in between. And yeah, it's just amazing to be a part of this kind of vision and this mission, which I don't really feel like is mine. I feel like it's for humanity, Kev.
I gotta ask you a couple things. First of all, did you ever stop and think that because when you were young, you were in the drug trade and did you ever think that maybe this was kind of like a flashback from all of that, or did that ever cross your mind?
In what way?
Well, just that when you were going through the experiences that you did, as an example, the meditation and then going to Alpha Centauri, did that strike you as being odd?
Well, not really. I mean, I'm one of these people that kind of just, when something happens and it's new, I'm like a dog with a bone. I'm like, I want to find out everything about it. Like, I don't think anything's really ever that strange.
Oh,
I just
good.
think, right, let's just let's dive into this and see what's going to happen. I don't really have that kind of like logical train of thought where I think like that. I just kind of dive in.
And maybe that's why you have. I don't know if picked is the right word or drafted is the right word, but you there are a lot of people that would look at the stories and what you've been through and they go, no, that didn't really happen. But you took it at face value and you now have taken it into a place that is far. Did you think that it would be as big as it's become?
No, I didn't really know what to think or expect. I just kind of went with the flow. But now I look back on it, I don't even know where the last 7 years have disappeared to, and I don't even know really like how we've got to where we have. It's just like the storybook Hansel and Gretel. You're following the breadcrumbs,
Right.
like everything that we've kind of done. Like I remember our first training back in England in 2017, and these Egyptian ladies came and they said, you should really do a training in Dubai. We got some good contacts there. So that took us to Dubai. And that's the way that it's been with everything we've done. Like someone has come along and said, why don't you come here? Why don't you come there? And we've just been following this kind of organic.
Organic breadcrumbs kind of thing. Jerry, you there? Oh crap. Jerry, you there?
Are you there, Kev?
Oh, there you are. You're back.
Yeah.
You have magically returned. Thank you.
Just phased out of reality for a few seconds, brother. Yeah, I mean, like a couple of weeks ago in New York, we had.
Well, we lost Jerry again. This is what happens sometimes when you do live radio and you're doing. Jerry, are you back? Well, let's.
Yeah, I'm back.
Oh, awesome, man! Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, so I was saying in New York a couple of weeks ago, we had a lady, she had multiple sclerosis, and the doctors told her that it was a downhill spiral. You're never going to walk again. And she came into our group healing on one of those motorized kind of wheelchairs. And on the second day of the healing, she just got up and walked. And she walked for about 5 meters and then sat down. And then about 20 minutes later, she got up and she walked 40 meters to the toilet, pulled her knickers down, went to the toilet, pulled her knickers back up, washed her hands, came all the way back again 40 meters. And, it was just an absolute miracle. We had a lady just this last weekend in Calgary that hadn't been able to stand up for 15 years. And she stood up and she was walking up and down the room. And, when I think back to when we started this, I never thought these things would be happening. I never knew what to expect, but I didn't think that we'd be creating this kind of colossal change.
Well, I can tell you this, it's awesome change is what you have created, because I was watching a YouTube video of the gal that you were talking about, and she is now able to um, get up and walk and to do some things, and you have in your healing practices and the live group healing. There's a lot of interesting things that happen in those rooms, isn't there?
Yeah, it's kind of wild. Like, yeah, I remember we've got one of our team, Gregory, who's one of our facilitators, and he used to be sort of big into the church, like the Pentecostal church. And he said when he first came to our training, it reminded him of like a Pentecostal church combined with some kind of sci-fi convention. And it is kind of wild and kind of wacky. You've got people shaking and screaming and bending, and what it is, we're downloading frequency into people. And if someone's got, let's say, an injury, an illness, they've got some kind of mental issue, they've got some kind of disability, whatever it might be, there's some kind of stuck energy somewhere in their system. And when we run frequency and code through their biological computer, their body and brain, it shifts this stuck energy. And sometimes people shake, they cry, they bend, they twist, they fall over. And sometimes people are shaking on the floor for ages. And it looks kind of weird if you've never experienced it. But the love that you feel in the room amongst it all is just another level. I remember in New York last Sunday, we were doing some holotropic breath work on the group healing on the Sunday afternoon. And then I put this piece of music on, and my own heart just burst open. I was crying for about 40 minutes, weeping like a tiny little baby. That it was an indescribable level of love. And when you feel that, you just want for nothing, but you feel so full. You don't need food, you don't need anything. You just feel so satisfied.
Exactly. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you missed any part of this, we're talking with Jerry Sargent. He is going to be here, actually here in town on Saturday and Sunday, um, for a live group healing session, and it's harnessing the power of star magic healing, and it's the 5th and 6th. It's from noon until 6, both days. You can go to both days. You can go to his website, which is starmagichealing.com, and click on the event page, and you can book the event. You can go to one, you can go to both, and you can really experience what he's talking about firsthand. So if you believe, as I do, as I know Jerry does, that energy is real and that we are energetic beings in a physical body, that we can accomplish anything in life that we choose to, we can do anything if we have the right mindset. And that you work real diligently with that and all of that energy work and the other things that you do, correct?
Absolutely. I mean, I think what's really important to let people know is that this whole kind of game that we're playing, it's a lifestyle. Some people just want to come to these group healings and be healed. Some people just want everything to be done for them and for them to be rescued. But one thing that we're kind of really big on in Star Magic is people stepping into their power and people living a lifestyle that activates them from morning till night, so they can keep their frequency really high. And to do that, you need to be focused on yourself and putting yourself first, making sure that you're eating clean, that you're exercising, that you're doing your meditation, that you're breathing deeply, that you're intermittent fasting. Like there's so many things that make up like a Star Magic lifestyle. And if people put the effort in and look after themselves, they're going to be able to hold the frequency. Like a lot of people want to do this energy work, but their physical body isn't able to hold enough light. So it can be quite tough for them. They get a lot of headaches. They get a lot of like pain in their body where all of this old trauma is coming out. They can get vertigo, heart pain, kidney pain, liver pain, and it's just the body clearing and cleansing. So you need to be doing the work clearing and cleansing the body so that you can hold the frequency that we're bringing through.
Jerry, I like your work so much, and we had such a good time the first time that we talked, that you're coming back on the show on Friday at 3 o'clock on Kixie. And so if you miss any part of this, or you know somebody that you think can benefit from Jerry and his work and going to the live event, then tune in on Friday, or tell them to tune in on Friday, because we're going to do this again, because I think it's really important. And if nothing else, you can have the opportunity to go to a place where you can become friends with 50 other like-minded people, and you can learn a tremendous amount about yourself and about the world around you, and what Jerry brings to the table. So I highly, just being together with a group of people like that is very important, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, when you come to one of our group healings, as soon as you book onto it, you're going to feel the energy before you even get there. And you're going to get there in the morning around 11:30. You're going to walk into the room and you're going to feel the frequency. We're going to have Palo Santo burning, amazing music playing, the team preparing the space. And then at 12 o'clock, I will give like an introduction to the day and what we're going to go through. And then we're going to take you on the most magical journey. And it's going to be life-changing. It's going to be uplifting. It's going to be positive. It's going to be healing. It's not going to be easy for everybody. Some of it's going to be tough. Like, we're going to push you. We're going to bring up emotions from deep inside you that you never even realized that you had, from childhood, from your teenage years, but also from the multidimensional playing fields. So like when a lot of people get ill, or they have an injury, or something happens in their life, mentally, physically, emotionally, quite often it stems from a past life trauma. So we're going to be taking you deep into the energetic playing fields and releasing all of that past life trauma. And that's when you have the kind of the physical experiences that we were talking about a short while ago today, where the body bends and the body twists. The body is simply having a biological upgrade. And we have people come into these healings that are addicted to pornography or drugs or alcohol or shitty food, and they walk away and those desires have gone. We have people that are addicted to abusive relationships. They walk out and they step into that kind of goddess, God energy, and they just say, no, I'm not doing this anymore. And they go on a completely different tangent. Like, we're all about empowering people. And when you come into this group healing environment and you go through the process that we take you through, you are going to realize how super powerful you really are. And you're going to walk back out into the world like a phoenix rising from the ashes, ready to take on the world with a whole new perspective. And that is like an unshakable, you can't fuck with me perspective. I'm just
Oops.
gonna go for it.
All right, I got to share with you. That's one of the 7 words you can't say on the radio, sir.
My bad, sir. I didn't realize.
Yeah, and Eric will take care of that. But just want to remind everybody that that's one of those, the S word and the F word and all that stuff you can't say. Anyway, we're talking with Jerry Sargeant, and he's going to be in town this weekend, and I really would like you to go. You can hear the passion in his voice, and I'm talking about the work that he does and how it helps people. And one of the things, and we're going to go to break here, but one of the things that you brought up that I want to reinforce is that sometimes things to happen to us when we're kids, and they're so deeply ingrained in us that we forget about them, and we hide them, we put them away somewhere, and we don't bring them up again because we don't know about them anymore because we've forgotten them, and we do that for a reason. And self to to protect yourself. And one of the things that you do in your work is you bring those things up, which can then be uncomfortable, but in order to heal, you have to bring them up to do them. Am I correct in that, sir?
Yeah, I mean, I always say to people, healing is like a caterpillar going into a chrysalis. Like, the caterpillar goes into the chrysalis and it has to sit in the darkness, and it's crunched up and it's cramped, and it doesn't know how long it's going to be crunched up and cramped and in the darkness for, but it just sits and it it goes through the darkness, it goes through the process, and it emerges the other side as a beautiful, magical, geometrical butterfly. Like scientists have cut butterflies out of chrysalises too early, and the butterfly can't fly. Going through that process, some people call it, the dark night of the soul, but it's just a growth period. It's a releasing, it's a recalibration, it's a restructuring period. And when you come out of the other side of it, you feel like a brand new human being. And you're 100% right, Kev. It's a part of the process.
Again, we're talking with Jerry Sargeant. We're going to have more with him when we come back. You're listening to Positive Talk Radio here on KKNW, 1150 AM. We'll be right back after these quick messages. Hey, PTR loyal listener. First, thanks for being in my dream. And second, I have a new concept in business to share with you. It's called socialpreneurship. So, what's that? Well, it's the idea that any company designates all profits beyond expenses to be awarded to a local or international charity or project which is working to achieve good in the world. KM Media is such a company. We believe that it's important for us to give back whenever possible and to make great things happen. So I hope you'll join us in creating this new business model that will positively impact all of us. In the next few weeks, we will lay out the plan and begin our fundraising efforts. So stay tuned for more details right here on Positive Talk Radio.
When you want to say more than words communicate, you can with flowers. Your custom boutique floral studio in Bothell, Washington is anaturaldesign.com, connecting you to nature through the language of flowers. Where your people are is where our flowers are beautiful. Your success is our goal. anaturaldesign.com at your fingertips today.
Hey, thanks for listening to Positive Talk Radio. Did you know that we're also a media production company? Well, surprise, we are. We can create all kinds of audio, video products to fill any need. Please visit kmmedia.pro/our-store for a complete list of products and services. In addition, do you need a great voice to add to your own website or any other project? I know that we can add depth and quality to your work. I've been told more times than I can count by many professionals in the business that my voice adds to the quality of the presentation. So, let me create something for you. Please contact me at kevin@kmmedia.pro and let's create something great. And welcome back to Positive Talk Radio. My name is Kevin McDonald, and you're listening to KKNW, 1150 AM. And this the guest we have, his name is Jerry Sargeant. He's also going to be on Kixie on Friday at 3. So if you missed any part of today's program, I hope that you'll join us there. As I have discovered in my time of doing almost 2,000 interviews, that each show's different. And it has a different quality and a different feel for it. So I hope that you'll
Rinse it off, Jay.
I'm sorry, what?
Rinse it off.
I'm sorry, what?
Hello there, Kev. Can you hear me?
We're back. This is live radio, and we're back and with Jerry Sargeant. How are you, young man?
I am doing amazing, brother.
Oh, that's really cool. And you're going to be here. You're going to be doing the Power of Star Magic Healing, the 5th and 6th. It is at the Sheridan on 6th Avenue, and you should go there. And it's from noon until 6 on both days. And you can book one of the days, or you can book both. I think that if you book one, you're going to end up going to both, whether or not you want to or not. But that's kind of just me. But it's great to have you here, Jerry, and welcome to the Great Northwest. A little premature because you're not here yet, but you'll be here soon.
Thank you so much, Kev.
It's and I want to talk to you more about.
Jeez, your internet off.
Am I what?
Hello, Jerry. Kevin? Yeah, I'm here.
Yes. Oh, okay. No, you were talking to somebody off camera, and I wasn't sure what that was. So anyway, but to tell us a little bit more about what's going to happen, what people can expect to have happen on Saturday and Sunday.
So Saturday is all about past life healing, ancestral healing. And then Sunday, the main focus is pineal gland activation and light body activation. So both days are going to be extremely healing. But the first day is geared specifically towards going into people's multidimensional architecture, their past lives, their future lives, like deep into the quantum field, and healing soul experiences that are having a negative impact on their reality right now as the human beings they are on this 3D earth plane. And then Sunday is about activating the third eye, the pineal gland, what we call the Merkaba field, which is a part of everybody's light body structure. So the Merkaba field's really important. 49 days after conception, inside a woman's womb, 8 little cells appear. And these 8 little cells are the only cells in the human body that never change. And they're actually held between the genitals and the anus in both male and female. They're called the Genesis cells or the egg of the Kundalini, and they carry all of our soul records, ancestral records, everything that has happened, will happen, and will ever happen is stored inside these cells.
That's where the term Kundalini comes from, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's where the Kundalini energy comes from. Yeah.
Because it comes from your very core, your very base,
Yeah, so on the Sunday activation, we're going to be going in and running certain frequencies to trigger that Kundalini frequency. And when that Kundalini rises, the whole frequency in your body changes. It's like having a brain and a body orgasm. It's better than sex. It's amazing. When that explosion of energy takes place in your body, you're never the same human being again. And when you kind of like have that experience, you can never go back. You know, it's an energy that just changes you. It activates so much energy, so much knowledge, so much wisdom rises from within you. And what it does, it activates your DNA template. So inside our cells, we've got DNA, and that DNA is like computer code. And that computer code stores ancient information, ancient wisdom, and it's activated by light and frequency. So when we run the frequency through people's DNA codes, through their Kundalini energy, all of that information rises to the surface, and people just start to know more. They start to shift, their nutrition changes, the way they think about the world changes, their level of awareness expands. Like, it's just a life-changing experience, and you can't get any better than it.
Do you have a sense in all the work that you've done about past lives and taking people back, and do you have a sense for how many past lives we typically have had?
Well, when I first started my spiritual journey, I was saying earlier, I met my first kind of spiritual teacher. She was a lady that worked for Scotland Yard. She actually had a past life regression business. You know, I used to go and see her a few times a week. I kind of became addicted to this information. It was so incredible and fascinating. I just wanted to get as much of it as I could. And she taught me how to access past lives. And she used to say to me, and this was back in 2005-ish, 2006, she used to say to me that the average human being on planet Earth has had around 750 past lives in a human body. That's just in a human body. So that kind of average is a lot more now. I mean, I would say, I mean, I've been into hundreds of mine. You know, I don't know exactly how many, but you know, it's in the thousands, definitely.
Now, in the work that you're doing, because I have been told this, and many people have said this to me, is that when we come here and we are in the womb, we have kind of an amnesia, because we don't remember our past lives. We don't remember where we just came from on the other side. And that's done so that we can learn anew without having misperceptions or preconceived perceptions of our life and who we like and who we don't and that kind of thing. Do you find that to be, does it, have I lost my mind, or is that a relevant thing?
No, I mean, this opens up a whole new topic of discussion, really, Kev. So you've got to ask the question, you know, does this happen on purpose? Like, are we do we have our memories erased intentionally, or is this like a natural process? So when I've looked into this, I feel it's an intentional process.
Wow.
And we as human beings come down onto this planet, we come out of our mother's wombs, and our memories are blank slated, which means they wipe and erase your memory. Now, I say they because there are many other extraterrestrial species that are playing out in this great big multiverse. Many are positive and some are not so positive. And some of the not so positive ones helped create the human species that we are. And they try and control us, but this is a whole other kind of topic that maybe we don't want to get into today. I don't know. But the way that I feel this is, and from experience, dealing with many human beings that have had to deal with military programming and sexual abuse, which is the kind of gateway into a lot of this kind of like mind control programming. We as a species are like a slave race, and we're put on this planet to be an energy source and a food source for other lower vibrational beings. But what we have the opportunity to do as our levels of awareness rise is understand the game that we're playing and step out of it. And once you know the game's playing, you can step out of it. And we teach people to step out of it.
So that you can actually remember some of the things that have made you the person that you are today, whether it be in this life or a previous life. You can understand what happened to you so that you can then make the necessary adjustments. And by the way, I wanted to ask you, this isn't you that's doing this. This is you're helping them access this themselves for themselves. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we're not about saving people. We get a lot of people that come to us and say, "Oh, please save me." I'm like, "No." Like, that you've got to step into this yourself. Like you have to be an empowered individual. We're not here to rescue you or save you. No one's coming to save you. You've got this whole toolbox locked inside of you. What we're going to do is help you understand that this toolbox is there. We're going to help you understand how to use it, and then it's up to you. We're not going to use it for you.
Because ultimately you can't really. You can tell them you can what's that saying? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Absolutely. And what happens if you try and make them drink it? You're going to spend your whole life trying to make them drink it.
Yeah, and that's not appropriate for you, and it's not appropriate for them because they may
No,
have
they've got to want to drink it themselves.
exactly because they may decide that the time isn't right for them. You mentioned this, and you mentioned it earlier that remembering rather than learning something new, we know everything. All we're doing is remembering. Is that a fair statement to make?
Absolutely. I mean, like the way that I look at it, there's nothing that I can teach you. There's nothing you can teach me, but you might have remembered some things that I and vice versa. So what you can do is you can trigger that remembering in me, just like I can trigger that remembering in you. And between this, we should be able to fill the jigsaw puzzle in. And then when you get a larger group of humans, you've got an even bigger jigsaw puzzle to play with. So you can all help each other remember more. And I feel that's why unification is so important on the planet right now. We as brothers and sisters have got to come together. We have to come together and we have to love each other and care for each other and, work as a family and not be divided, because through unity, the power and the energy of the planet rises.
Now, do you believe that we are in a very unique period in time in history, and that our energy is rising, and we are beginning to make that transition and coming together more and more as understanding that we are one people and that we are all in this together?
I definitely feel so. I mean, even in the last couple of years, the change that you see on Earth and in these kind of like communities, these energy, spiritual communities, whatever you want to call them, like more and more people are getting into this stuff, and the range like of people that are coming to our trainings, Like, we didn't used to get this kind of range of and scope, people from different walks of life. You know, it was predominantly women between sort of 35 and 55 years old that were into this stuff already. But now we're getting people from all walks of life, and we have been for a few years. You know, people that you would never think, like CEOs of big companies, you know, that are kind of really mainstream, really 3D. And they come into our trainings to understand how we do our work so they can take it back into their corporations. We do plant medicine retreats, ayahuasca, psilocybin, and we get people from all over the planet, from all different walks of life, come into those too. You know, people that you would never think would be into this kind of stuff. And so, yeah, consciousness is expanding and it's infiltrating and waking up the minds and hearts of men, women, and children all over Earth. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. At the same time, there's many, many people still asleep, and there's a lot of work, so we just got to keep cracking on.
Got to keep going, got to keep working on it, because the thing is that I think a lot of people are coming to the conclusion, and they're asking themselves the following questions: is this all there is, and why am I really here? And oftentimes we don't know the answer to those. We can pose a question, and sometimes we need somebody to help us learn how to do that, be it a coach, be it a mentor, be it a group facilitator, or it's somebody like Jerry, Jerry Sargent, who can help you. By the way, he's coming to town. He's coming. I'm going to run out of time, so I want to make sure I get this in again. He's coming to town this weekend. He's going to be here doing the Harnessing the Power of Star Magic Healing, the 5th and 6th of August, and that's going to be right in downtown Seattle on the 6th, on 6th Avenue at the Sheridan, I think it was. I could be wrong, but go to his website and go to the event page, and it's right there. And you can go and go to the event and have a really a really interesting spiritual experience. I wish I could go. I can't, but it would be fun to go. But I really appreciate Jerry coming here, and he's going to be here again. And by the way, I apologize for the audio, but he is in Canada, and the internet there apparently is not as good as we'd like. But he's going to be again on Positive Talk Radio on Kixie on Friday, which is 2 days from now, and he will be in town. So the audio will be perfect, and we're going to have a great discussion and to get ready for his event on the weekend. So Jerry, we've only got we got some time left. So I wanted to ask you again. You've been doing this for a while. What would be the biggest takeaway that you have of everything? I realize this could be like an hour discussion all by itself, but what would be a takeaway of some of the biggest things you've learned in the last 7 to 10 years?
I think this is a good question. Like, yeah, I mean, and I think it's more simple. The answer is more simple than people may think. For me, I feel the most important thing for any human being to do, to really enable themselves to be full of energy and be the very best version of themselves, is to stay ultimately present. And that is to be living in the heart, where you're not living from the mind and from the head and from the ego. When people are living from the head, there's a 0.25-second window between stimulus and response. So you're bouncing around in and amongst that stream of incessant crazy thoughts that most of them are repetitive. And when things happen in your life, you react. When you live in your heart, because you're breathing deeply, you create space between you and everything in your outside world. And that space enables you to respond. And quite often, that response is no response at all. So by simply breathing deeply and just observing life and being very, very present, you raise your energy levels, because 80% of your energy gets drained through your thoughts. So as soon as you stop thinking and you become present, you get all of that extra 80% energy, and you create space between you and your external environment. So it allows you to stay in love, it allows you to stay in acceptance, it allows you to stay in observation, and from there you've got a beautiful foundation to move into any area of life. When you're in that kind of frequency of presence, that state of consciousness of wholeness, everything works for you. So the universe helps you manifest very easily, whether it's a healthy body, whether it's the expansion of a business, whether it's loving beautiful relationships. Like, everything flows when you're present and you're whole and you're in that state of unconditional love and acceptance. Everything works. You don't have to try too hard. If you're not in that state, you've got to bash your head against a brick wall and kind of force life into place. But less is more. Being in the isness and the stillness and the oneness and that kind of epicenter, like the eye in the storm. Like, the storm can be crazy, right? Life can be crazy, but when you're in the eye of the storm, it's really, really calm. So if you can be present and centered and in the eye of the storm and let life just go on around you, everything will work, everything will flow, and your life will be magical. It's like jumping into the river and just flowing down the stream. You don't want to swim upstream because it's hard. You want to swim downstream where it's easy and go with the natural flow of life. And being present enables you to do that.
Jerry, that is a profound statement. I've got a quick story I'd like to tell about that if I can. Years ago, I was doing a network marketing with six other people, and we had a mentor. And the mentor would come on and we'd have a phone call and he'd say, you got to do this, got to go do that, got to be this, got to go do that and stuff. And we were all like, this is hard. This is really hard. I don't know that I can do that. I don't know that I can do this. And we kept on saying to him, this is hard. Can you make it easier? And he said, nope, this is the way it goes. This is the way it is. Well, one of the gals, about a month in, we were having weekly meetings. One of the gals came in and said, you know what? This is easy. I can do this. I can have fun with it. It's easy. I'm just going to let it be. The gospel according to Paul McCartney, by the way. I'm just going to let it be. And the five of us ended up quitting that particular company. And she's now a multi-millionaire in that company because she made the transition that it's not hard, that it's easy. And we can all do that, can't we?
I think definitely, brother. It's a matter of choice. A lot of people don't realize they've got a choice. A lot of people just take life the way that it's presented to them, and the rules and the regulations and the schooling and the indoctrination, and they become a slaves to society. But we have the choice to step out of that and create our own life and make up our own rules of this human game. And when we decide to do that consciously, everything works in our favor in the most positive way. But if we just kind of lie back and just, go with the flow in terms of the way that we've been led to believe that life should be, go out into the world, go to university, college, get a job, get a mortgage, pay it off, and maybe you'll have a good few years at the end if you're lucky. No way, Jose. I mean, that's just a non-starter for me. And what I would love to see is every human being step outside of that programming and just start to create heaven on earth, because it's possible.
If you want to begin the process of stepping out of that program, there's a program coming to Seattle this weekend. How's that for a transition? This weekend, it's Harnessing the Power of Star Magic. It is with Jerry Sargeant and his group that are coming to town, and they're going to be downtown on the 5th and 6th from noon to 6. You can go to his website, which is starmagichealing.com, and click on the event page, and it's right there, and you can sign up for it. There is still limited space available, so I would encourage you to do that this afternoon if you can. So, Jerry, and we're gonna see you again on Friday at 3. I'm so excited about that as well. Thank you for being here on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Kevin. Apologies for the internet, brother, but I'll be in town with you on Friday, so it'll be immaculate.
It will be just perfect. And you're just perfect just the way you are. And by the way, everybody, I want to thank everybody for being here, and be kind to one another, because each other's all we've got. We'll see you Friday at noon and then again at 3.